nights cruising and wasn't nothing to it. Flicking up the shit, we about to make a movie. Pouring up a cup, we about to set the mood in the cup, rolling up, smoking something groovy. I get excited when you're not biased. Love is in my head, I won't stop trying. I get excited when you're not biased. Love is in my head, I won't stop trying. Got somebody that you loving well, oh well. Faking innocence and I won't tell. Little bit of ghetto and a little bit of bougie. Ain't afraid to get this in a motel. Love calling my name, love playing my games. You ain't got no shame, but in my part the blame.
What up, what up? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the NWA Connie Corsos podcast, where we talk all things dog. Well, we're doing it a little bit different today. I'm gonna kind of put you into my world on personal things I like to watch. This young man here, I've been watching him for a very long time, because a lot of us, you know, I'm 47, so we all was raised up in the Tupac era and all that good stuff. And this man, he was he's significant in when it comes to the Death Row music days and things about that, and his knowledge on what all the questions we wanted to know back in the day. I ain't gonna hold it up though. Brother Reggie Wright, what's happening, brother?
Respect. Thanks for having me on your show, Joe.
Yes,
I'm kind of not a dog lover. My wife and my son are the dog lovers. They got a shit poo running around here now, but man, I gotta hook you up with my boy Dog Man, the guy that raised all the Suge dogs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Daryl Young.
Oh, okay.
He had a dog that mind better than anything we ever seen in our life.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that dog Suge used to have?
Damu.
That's his name.
That mean blood.
Yeah, that mean blood.
Yeah, Damu. Yeah.
Damu.
I get a lot of people asking me, what happened to Damu? I said, I hope he had doggy heaven. Damu was born in 90. Well, he came around us in like 95, so, and he was probably already about 1 or 2 when he came around us.
He was already trained up and everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Dog Man. It's a dude named Daryl Young. I don't know the name of his kettle or whatever, but I swear he had those dogs where he had this one dog, boy. I tell a story when we went to the Bahamas. And you know, when you go out of the country, you got to declare the dogs and do paperwork and go get them. Go get a letter from the vet and all of that to bring them overseas. So me and Suge knew to do that about dog, but somehow I researched it and found out, and we went to the vet and got all that stuff done.
Yeah.
So we went to the Bahamas and Daryl bought his dog, and I mean, if he didn't have $20,000 into that dog of training and stuff back then, I'll be surprised.
Wow.
And so he came over there with that black dog that dog was, I forget his name, but it was, man, it damn near, it trained better than a kid, right?
Wow.
And so the Bahamians was trying to keep the dog. It was like, no, you ain't. No, you ain't. You have to kill me. And luckily, the Bahamians is a little bit more easier to bribe than the Mexican authorities when you go into Cabo and all of them.
Yeah.
They just let him a few bucks and they went on and let him through. But they were sure trying to keep his dog. So any of you guys travel out of the country with your dogs, make sure y'all read up on the correct procedures of traveling with them.
Yeah. It shows some procedures to do it.
Yeah.
Man, would you ever? I know you probably would have never imagined that your neighborhood you grew up in, your friends you grew up with playing football with, that y'all would be worldwide figures one of these days. Could you ever imagine that?
Unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know how to say it. I'm known for the negative stuff, but you know, I'm proud of what Suge did and how he took it to another level and all of that. And his name will always be cemented in hip hop. Disappointed on some of the things he's been saying lately, but he can't erase all the good things that he did in hip hop, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah, yeah. I've been noticing he been getting doing those phone calls a lot lately. So yeah, he's been getting out a little bit more. And I know y'all had your disagreements and whatnot, but
Yeah.
well, y'all know the truth in between
Oh
both.
yeah.
Yeah,
He just a little angry right now, and
yeah.
that's how he get when he get angry.
Right, right. So so how was it growing up? I know you and Suge, y'all from two-parent homes. How was
Yes.
Compton back in those days?
Man, people see those houses in the city of Compton still going from $600,000 to $700,000, but that's because it's centrally located.
Right.
That's why it's called the hub city. It's surrounded around city of Long Beach, Los Angeles, Linwood, Gardena, and Paramount, and so it's like in a big circle. And all of that is close to the railroads. They have come straight from San Pedro that goes straight through them through downtown LA. You can get to the airport real quick. So it's centrally located. People
Okay.
come there a lot and visit and be like, y'all act like this city is so bad. Look at this. These lawns are green and all of that.
Mhm.
It's that type of city. But like I said, have decent homes and grass and all of that. Have everything it's centrally, not too far away.
Right.
Don't have movie theaters and stuff like that in the city because they don't want to invest in it, but it's not too far from a city called Lakewood. That's
Okay.
where a lot of us go to. But hey, you didn't feel it. You hear about it, man. Unfortunately, we just heard uh two ladies. I was just talking to my boy Compton Rick Rock from that has a YouTube channel right now. And he did a great commentary about a young lady and the mother got shot just sitting at a light at Compton.
Wow.
On Compton and Caldwell.
Right.
So stuff happens there. It's unfortunate, I'm so glad I was able to get my wife and my son and kids from having to grow up out there.
Right.
But so you very rarely hear of people being victimized like that.
Mhm.
There's generally the people that's in that world that a lot of the game banging and stuff go along with or go on. But every now and then you do hear of innocent victims being victimized in that city. But
When you got a city like Compton that's popular and is centrally located to a lot of things,
yeah,
said the houses was 6 or 700,000. Y'all getting gentrified yet?
no,
Oh,
they
really?
well
Okay.
we getting our Brown brothers are taking over,
Oh,
but
okay.
they don't vote. They
Oh,
don't vote, so the black people still run it, but
mhm.
it's probably 70-30 their favor now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, but back in the day, a lot of black people just migrated to these cities for jobs. Is your Mr. Reggie Wright Senior is like they from the South or somewhere else, or
Correct.
they are?
Louisiana. He's a New
Oh, here we
Orleans
go,
boy.
y'all. The
He's a New Orleans
Southeast.
man, and that's where my people come from. So
Okay.
you're right. They have what they call housing projects that were real big out there.
Yeah.
So you have like 3 or 4 popular housing projects. You have the Imperial Course housing projects, the Jordan Downs, uh, um, Nickerson Gardens, and there's one other one that I'm forgetting. And so you have project homes. That's where there's a whole bunch of homes that's together and projects, and it went based on your salary. So the rent was cheap, and all of that is how you got into the housing projects.
Okay.
So what happened was, that's where a lot of our grandparents moved to from the South in the '60s.
Hmm.
And after the Watch Riot and stuff like that, a lot of programs was going on. They were bringing good jobs and stuff over there because they were trying to help after the Watch Riot. And so a lot of them migrated from the South to those projects, and then they started, like you said, had two-parent homes and stuff like that. And
Hmm.
then they started moving into the city of Linwood or Compton and all of that from there. And
Right.
so that's how it was pretty much made. But it really was built from most of the people that grew up there. That's why we kind of seem like we all know each other and stuff like that. Is
Hmm.
because our parents, grandparents, and our parents grew up in this community called Watts, which is in Los Angeles, South
Right.
Central LA.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I kind of remember, growing up too. I grew up in I'm a PK kid, but my dad was kind of like a street dude turned pastor.
Okay.
You still
Okay.
sing shit,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
that side. So but before crack hit,
Oh yeah.
of course,
That's the 80s. We
yeah,
talking 80s now. Yeah,
right.
that's
Our
80s.
dad still controlled the street. You just didn't come. You couldn't come through and just do what you wanted to do on
All
our
right.
block until
Yeah.
after crack hit. So
Yeah.
tell me about what you remember how that changed things when the crack epidemic. Sorry.
I still hate Ronald Reagan for the crack cocaine epidemic that happened into our community.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why we say that is because it was just so out there. I mean, still to this day, it's kind of getting a little better now. But most of my young adult life, it was no one that you didn't know that didn't have a family member that was still suffering from the effects of rock cocaine. We're
Mm-hmm.
kind of getting away with it now. The fentanyl is what we're hearing about now.
Yeah.
But in the 90s, the 80s, you're hearing all these guys getting out of prison now that were the big time drug dealers from it. But man, the mid 80s, all of the 90s, it had our aunties and some, older people's sisters and stuff out there tricking themselves, doing things for chasing that high. Um, you you had an uncle or aunt that was burglarizing grandma's house to take
Mm-hmm.
VCRs or TVs or things out of the home to go and to pawn it off for that rock cocaine. Women were selling, doing anything with their bodies for the cocaine, and it was just bad times. You could tell a crackhead generally because you can look at their teeth. All of their teeth was out of their mouth or rotten and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just bad times.
Yeah.
Luckily, I think that's why marijuana is so everybody's so hooked on marijuana now is
Right.
because I think when they had that in their system from when they were babies, when they were in the mother womb, it just made them be addicted to something because they needed it
Right.
because they were quote unquote some type of crack babies.
Yeah, it was a lot of crack
So
babies in the man. You know
yeah,
what, Reg? I think the movies did something too. Like Colors. My hometown is Little Rock, Arkansas, right?
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what y'all known for?
Oh, but you know why? It was dudes from California
that
that
migrated.
that migrated, and dudes was like so impressionable with them, and like,
Yeah,
and you know how like if you go to jail, you can be whoever you want to be in jail because people don't know
yeah,
you like that. It was the same
correct.
thing in the South. They'll tell us, "Oh man, I was King Tut up in California
Yeah,
doing shit." They got red out of there, but they changed
yeah,
whole cities,
yeah,
bro. Yeah,
yeah.
it brought an epidemic. Therefore, the Banging in Little Rock HBO series.
I remember that. Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
y'all got known for out there in Little Rock.
yeah, yeah,
My
yeah.
best friend grew up from in Little Rock, Arkansas. His parents, rather,
Oh,
his
really?
parents, the Stowe Rays. You ever heard of some Stowe
Yeah,
Rays?
man, I know the store Ray's good. They from the country out there. Yeah. Oh my
Yeah,
God, a lot of people gonna hear that. Yeah,
my best friend, the White Stowe Ray. His dad was Claude Stowe Ray,
yeah.
but yeah, they grew up.
The
That's
Store Ray
so,
family built my dad church when he bought a small little building, and they built
okay.
onto it. The Store Ray family, we know them good. Yeah, from
That's
church.
that's my
Yeah,
best
for
friend,
sure.
and all his family migrated from Little Rock. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, man. So, your dad, I know he's instrumental in your life, and how I'm gonna tell you this what I'm asking it this way because like I told you I'm a PK, but I
Okay.
grew up in the inner city, right? And then one day I was in the it was in elementary,
Okay.
and one of my friends, we was in the bathroom and we was at the washing hands and everything. He's like, "Man, you act just like us." I'm like, "What? How I'm supposed to act? We in the same neighborhood, you know? You know what I mean?"
Yeah.
How was that growing up with your dad being a cop? How did they respect him? How was it? Was it any different?
See, my dad was a different type of police officer because he started off working in the coaching. He was coaching like travel ball.
Right.
He used to take kids to Arizona every year around this time of the year. It used
Yeah.
to be around springtime, Easter vacation, where
Right.
they used to go to this basketball club called BCI in Phoenix, Arizona, and uh, and so he had the Imperial Courts All Stars is what his team was, and then he merged with all the in Watts all the popular teams, and they called themselves the Watts Magicians, and
Okay.
developed a lot of basketball players. So, and then he was a meter reader prior to that,
Okay.
where he was the guy that was in charge of either turning your lights on or turning it off and stuff like that. And
Mm.
so he knew how and then he's a child of 17, 17 kids, right?
Damn. Okay.
and grew and they grew up, and like I said, in the projects and stuff like that. So when you have a history like that, you kind of treat people a little different because you done been through it. You know
Right.
you know most people that just because they don't not doing well economically, that don't mean they're not good people.
Right.
And so he learned how to treat people, and he was just different. He was before all of this community policing and all of that. He had brought that, because the cops in the 80s, unfortunately, was kick ass fake names. They were really against it, but he was different from that.
Right.
And so I'm saying that to say that. So we kind of saw things a little different. We lived in the city of Compton while he was patrolling and working in the city of Compton. Both of my grandparents lived in the city of Compton while we was working there. And so it was just different. He was more of a community service type police officer versus the kind of cop that a lot of the young kids and the people, unfortunately don't like and always speaking negatively on.
Right. Because I,
And
I
so,
think I think I remember you saying, or your dad saying that he knew the community so well that somebody got charged with something, he can go talk to them into turning themselves in. You know what I
well,
mean?
and then generally their mom or their daddy because he knew them. And
Right.
or the gang members, but if he didn't know who they were, that's why I was trying to say earlier how everybody knows somebody that knows somebody. And
Hmm.
so when you hire cops from the community, the unfortunate thing is they didn't like to hire, or a lot of the cops from the community wasn't able to qualify because, we generally got in some trouble growing up. And so
Hmm.
the police officers didn't like to give those people that second chance, when
Right.
they become adults and all of that, where he got a break. And, he was able to keep his nose clean, I guess, because he got married at an early age. You know, I was born when he was 19 years of age, and so he had to
Okay.
get out there and work. And
Right.
so I think that might have contribute to it, but um, that's before cops knew about hiring, or departments or agencies knew about trying to get some people from the community because they'll relate. They should be able to relate a little better too. You got some of just assholes like me. Some
Yeah.
people will say I was just an asshole because I didn't know better,
Right.
but it eventually rubbed off on me because you learn quickly that you get more with honey than you get with with
Right.
being a lemon.
Right. Right. What age did you become an officer?
I came a little bit early. I started working in the jails at the age of 19,
Right.
but I didn't become a police officer till I graduated from the academy when I was about 22 years of age,
Okay.
which is
So
too young.
right.
The power that you get in working in law enforcement at that age, you think you know everything, but you know nothing in life. I mean, I hate to, it's you have the rare breeds or whatever, but for the most part, I don't think even at our age
Yeah.
we didn't really learn anything about being a man until we was about 28, and
Yeah.
I think it's even later now.
Man, I was gonna
I
say
think,
really you ain't a lion till you about 35.
and that's now. I think
Yeah.
we grew up a little. I always say the reason I was telling somebody this last night. What happened was PlayStations and all of that made us stay
Yeah.
in the house more, so that's why these kids are a little behind.
Right.
Because I remember my mama, because my dad was always working or gone in the streets or whatever. But my mama used to be like, "Nigga, get out of the house." Don't come back until the street lights come on.
Right,
And
right.
and we be going all over the city. Our
Yeah.
parents didn't worry about us.
Mhm.
My son, 23 years old, just left. And I'm up here wondering where he at right now, you know?
Boy, I'm telling you, boy, for
But
real.
back then, your mama didn't care until the street lights started blinking, then you better start running your butt home.
I'm telling you, man, I done paid all this money for a house and moved out the hood out here by myself. And me and my wife still be looking outside when our kids playing. Like, man, we ain't paid all
Exactly.
this. It's like,
But
God.
when we grew up, man, I tell my mama that the other day. You don't know all the stuff I was going.
Yeah,
I said, you don't have no idea where I was at.
yeah,
But I knew I better have my butt home. So the lights started blinking and all of that because we didn't have cell phones and way to to communicate and say, hey mom, we okay or whatever. You
right.
know, yeah,
Yeah. So things start to change in what years did the gang start to form? Who was instrumental on it? Why did the Blood and Crip thing start?
yeah.
I hear people say it started Crip started off as almost like an activist group. Is that true?
Y- Uh, I like there's other people that I defer to on that and all of
Okay.
that because of the '70s and all that. So I'll
Right.
refer y'all to this guy Melly Mel
Okay.
show or the Kel Max shows and all of that. But just from my little experience and just from talking to my dad and listening to him because he explains that part a little bit more. You're right; they were more of just like cliques and stuff like that. The name Crips didn't start. No names didn't start coming up until the Youth Authority System, meaning
Okay.
the jail. In the jails is when they started that. Pyru, of course, came from a street in the early '70s and stuff like that, where you got where the street Pyrus and Bloods and all of that started formulating. But
Right.
it all really did, for the most part, come from prison and from the gangs and stuff like that for protection inside of the prisons and the facilities. But
Right.
the mid 70s is when all of that game banging and stuff started. And then the 80s is, you mainly did it for territory, for controlling that drug, that rock cocaine that took over our community. And because and that's when you got the better guns and stuff like that. Because back then, before that, you just had 38s or 22s if you was lucky. But
But
once you was able to make that money from
right.
selling that narcotics, they were able to up their game.
And then we all know now that it was kind of dumped in the communities as
Oh
well
yeah.
as the guns. Look what somebody said from outside. Bill Clinton had Arkansas open for business when he was
Ah,
yeah, yeah,
oh, Bill.
yeah, old Bill, yeah, Bill. Hey,
Bill,
Bill.
Bill, Bill kind of one that
Yeah.
put those the laws in there that I'm glad they starting
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah. Bill Clinton and Biden. Yeah, when they was
yeah,
you jaywalking, you going to prison.
going to prison. They
Yeah,
but I guess you got to take the good with the bad, right?
yeah, yeah. They really had stomped down. I remember one
Yeah.
time. They had what we called a drought, where it wasn't nothing coming in. It wasn't no marijuana. You couldn't find nothing, and they said it just shows you the power of who control things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
They're gonna get back to that because it now is affecting them. And when I'm saying them, I'm talking about color that people that don't have no color in their skin,
right.
and and so when it started affecting them and their little ones,
Hmm.
they get a control over it again,
Right.
and that fentanyl drug is it's hitting our community as well,
But it
but
dog is
it's
tearing up
really
a lot of
tearing them
people.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. And the pill epidemic too. Like up here, they don't where I live, a predominantly white area, they don't talk about it, but it's like, boy, there's people around here like zombies.
Yes.
For real. For real, for real. Well, so like I started the show, man, positive or negative, your community has reached overseas, cemented in US history. Guys like Monster Cody. You remember this guy, Monster Cody?
I remember Cody. He the one that dressed like a female hiding from the law enforcement and the police and stuff. Yeah, I ever
Right.
heard that story about Monster Cody when he was on the run. That's why a lot of people say he was gay or something like that, but he was just really trying to disguise himself and run from the police. Yeah. I think we lost you, NWA. Yeah. But we have to
Hey,
give it
Reggie,
mainly to. Okay, you back? Okay.
yeah. My camera
Okay.
is tripping.
Yeah.
Internet got the trip, but you can keep on talking. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah. So the main thing is, I think Easy. I have to give credit more than Death Row. I have to give it to Easy and NWA, uh, who I thought you took your name from, but I learned that you took your NWA name from something else. But
Right.
have to give them the credit for really putting Compton on the map, and
Mm,
then Suge and Death Row taking it, and Dr. Dre taking it and making it even bigger.
right.
Yeah.
Right. Here's a comment. I gotta highlight this dude.
Okay.
This is one of my home, but this is one of the first dudes I ever met from California. I think I met him when I was about 19. He came out the Dago area, Logan
Okay.
Avenue, YK the
YK
Realist.
the realist.
Yeah,
Okay.
we used to do a lot of music together, rap music and stuff. And anytime Tyler Perry dropped anything, YK on that joint. Yeah, so this is one of my
Respect.
natural homeboys from back in the day. So yeah, you know, all that Death Row music, especially Tupac music, really influences. I don't know what's wrong with my damn camera, but man, let's get into. I know you. I'm gonna try to speed this up a little bit.
No problem. No problem. I'm with you.
I know you played football with Suge and them. All got all the way up in and stuff. Suge went to go on and play professional football. Start working for Al Heyman. At what point did you come in uh, uh, to help with Death Row and maybe a little bit how that happened?
Okay. Yeah, Suge, to be honest, he was by the time I came around was 1994, and they were already hitting home runs. They had the Chronic out, the G thing, and Snoop Dogg did what he did, and then even the Above the Rim soundtrack was out. So I didn't come back around Suge until really the beginning of Murder Was the Case. And pretty much that was because after the murder of Tupac. I'm sorry, the murder that Snoop Dogg was involved in. And so I was brought in mainly because for the protection of civil judgments and stuff like that, because the gentleman that they had that was working for them, that shot caused the company to maybe be liable civilly because of him not being certified to work in the law enforcement or to be carrying a gun. And so even though they found out that they had a good case criminally, they still had some civil liability. And so that's when Suge had made the decision. And plus, Suge was on probation and stuff like that, that maybe he needed some law enforcement people around him because he was putting this company in jeopardy. Uh, and so that's when he reached out to me or to me. And then I got him to my father and they had some conversations. And from there, that's when we decided to help me get a security company started and to start working for him in the capacity of security with guys that I knew that I trusted. Uh, he didn't care about who they were
Right,
because his whole thing was, hey, uh, we just trying to do the right thing,
right,
and that's what his decision was. It was mainly just for a liability purposes because they had guys around them that could protect them and do things. It's just that unfortunately, you got to have the people with training when it come down to getting in that courtroom for civil liability and stuff. And now, when you $100 million company, you
hmm
just got to do things the right way.
yeah, yeah. Excuse my camera, Reg.
No
Yeah.
problem. No problem.
So basically, you said you can't have that homeboy security when you hit another level.
You have to kind of change up just for the liability side. Like I said, I'm not trying to say that the police officers or any of them would be better or anything. It's just, you probably, I can tell you do a lot of training with dogs and stuff. It's probably some dogs that or some people that can, do things with the dogs better.
Oh
But
yeah.
it's that certificate and that training that comes with it. That's when people be like, okay, I'll pay a little more for it because it got the paperwork and it's done been through this training and this person that trained it and all of that, where the value goes up a little more, and just for the liability of if the dog does something. And
Right.
so that's just how it is with with the security guards and law enforcement.
Right.
It's just all about. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but let me
No
get this
problem.
question in from my little homeboy. He keep
Okay.
asking me. He gonna make sure I say ask you. Uh, Catch dog concept. What's happening, bro? How much
All
did Reggie see Suge with dogs, and was the film straight out of Compton accurate when Suge had a guy at Pitbull?
right. I don't recall that particular situation. Uh, because he treated Damu more like a nice pet. Just like I think he watched New Jack City, and he wanted to be like Wesley Snipes. Uh,
Mhm.
but but and like that. But Suge have always loved dogs. He used to have a Rottweiler that he loved by the name of Bear. Matter of fact, he got a picture of Bear tattooed on his body. And so, what made him get into that particular style dog? I think that was what the police officers that went to, the not the German Shepherds, but the what they call them, the Mauis or something like that.
Bow
So yeah,
uh-huh.
and so they were popular at the time in the mid '90s, and so that's why he went to Damu. But yes, he was always been an animal lover. He's and dogs, and
So was
but he
Snoop,
did have
right?
a. I'm sorry.
So was Snoop Dogg. Wasn't he a pit bull guy?
Snoop, they were big in dogs. They were
Yeah.
big in dogs. But they mainly had pit bulls and stuff.
Right.
But I don't know what y'all about. I don't know if y'all the trainer types or if y'all the Mike Vick types. Snoop Dogg and them was the Mike Vick type.
Yeah, yeah, we know.
Sh-
Yeah.
yeah, Suge was the other type. Suge just liked it for
Yeah.
like I said, to walk around looking like Wesley Snipes or something from New
Right.
Jack City.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah. I knew Snoop liked to roll them. Yeah. But man, so you got what should, man, how difficult it was, man, how wild was it, Reggie, to kind of keep them guys in control? You had Tupac, you had his crew, you had Snoop and his crew. Did they all get did the crews get along? How did shit happen when y'all rolled in the city to keep everybody intact?
Yeah, by the time I got around in '94, the entourages, because those are the ones you really had problems with, was the homeboys that was around or whatever, right?
Hmm.
Uh, they had kind of worked it out and had a working relationship. By the time I came around, there were some incidents that had happened prior to me coming around at the Snoop Dogg album release party. Uh, there was a big fight on the boat and stuff like that in Marina Del Rey.
Hmm.
Uh, and so they had, when I mean that about the red and the blue, the red and blue side, but you never really had no problems with the main artists. Uh,
Right.
Unfortunately, right before uh, Tupac was shot and then later died, we all know the big history between the little incident that happened between Pac and Snoop. But that was a difference of opinion on how to deal with things. It
Oh, you
wasn't
talking
that
about
they didn't.
the thing with Biggie? They both didn't agree on their
Yeah,
relationship with Biggie.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
mainly because Snoop got on the radio and when we was on the East Coast and pretty much said he had no problem with the East Coast and he, didn't mind working with anybody from the East Coast and stuff like that. And Pac at that time, he was pretty much, had hit him up and what his feelings was from hit him up about the East Coast at that time or certain people from the East Coast. And
Right.
that's what they were all trying to clear up, that it wasn't that they hated the East Coast or anything like that. It was just certain people from the East Coast that they had problems with at the time.
Right.
And
Right.
so So to get that data point, or to get that to get to get out, and then all of that happened. But to your question is, didn't have too many problems with the red and blue. Everybody just kept them being respectful with each other and stuck to their sides. Wasn't like they were out hanging out with each other or anything like that. But
Right.
they would be respectful when they did go out and go places with each other.
Okay. So when how was it? How was it when Pac came? Because you already got artists working and different things. Did they get anybody get jealous that because I know everything pretty much had to
Yeah.
stop and focus on him when he came out of prison.
We learning that, and it appears that way now, but in the moment, you didn't feel it.
Okay.
But a lot of the interviews that people have been doing lately, and some of the things that appeared to transpire, and some of the people's statements of late, uh, it appeared that what you said is factual, or it
Mhm.
was, was people's opinion. But being in the middle of it, you didn't feel it. You felt the jealousy of why did my album, or why did my videos get stopped, or like the Dog Pound, they had a double platinum album out when Pac first came home, and they only did two videos for it. When back then you used to would get three videos before you stopped working an album, and
Right.
then so little stuff like that happened, uh, and you will wonder, well, when about studio time. And it'll be always, well, now the studio is booked out. We'll try to get you in when we can. Little stuff like that. But to be honest, he pretty much let all of them get on his album, so they were happy about that. And
Right.
who can argue with the success that he came home doing? It wasn't like just came home being average. He
Right.
came home and he knocked it out of the park.
Man, I remember. I think I was in. I probably was in 11th or 12th grade, and I was in band class, and the teacher stopped the class because one dude had the All Eyes on Me CD, so the
Okay.
whole class could listen to it. That's how big, dude,
Yeah.
that album was, and it did not fail to deliver, brother. It did not.
Yes.
You the females, right?
Okay.
I know during the height of the beef, y'all had girls probably not you. I know you were married man, but I know that it was kind of a co-mingling of the same girls but on the East Coast and the West Coast. Do you think that affected anything with a little pillow talking type shit?
Some things, but I don't think it changed anything. Maybe, we know how Tupac weaponized Faith, his relationship with Faith to piss Biggie off. I believe stuff like that happened, but uh, Suge messing around with one of Puffy baby mama Misa and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
it wasn't like they were their main chicks and stuff like that.
Oh,
And
okay.
so, and we didn't have social media and stuff like we do now, where you get caught walking out of the restaurant or going into the club with them. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? It would all be speculation, and generally, women only did stuff like that when you was already beefing with them anyway. You know,
Yeah.
um, but social media, this era that we live in now, is so different. It's just so different than what the things that we would everything you would hear about would be months later or whatever, would be in a magazine or stuff like that. It is just not like instant. You didn't
Right.
have TMZ and all of that standing outside, so it. And plus, back then, no guys, you had the girls. It's like I'm sure in the NBA now and all of these that they have those girls that's running around that you knew that's what they were about, and you had those type of females that was around that you knew they were the party girls or the ones that was out there. But you, things only hurt you when you see it.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
unfortunately, right now in this social media and this exposure that people have, we can see it the next day.
The next day. Yeah.
Where back then you didn't hear about your girl cheating on you or anything until like a month or two later.
Right.
Yeah.
Man, I'm sure you did a lot of babysitting and commingling. You seen a lot with your eyes. Oh my God. I can only imagine, like, for like, y'all got to go to Bum first, man. If y'all want to know about Bum first, y'all got to go to Bum first. And Reggie got a book out too. We'll talk about that a little later. But y'all got to go to Bum first and get these stories on. Because I see Suge was in there. Suge would have his way. Yeah, it don't matter who woman it was. He's gonna try to have his way, wasn't
He tried to get it. Yeah, he
he?
tried to. And generally he could do it because he could take you and put you in a nice hotel or fly you out to a nice location or, you know, take you to a nice meal in the location. So when you can follow up the game that you promised, you generally can be a little successful. But yeah, and then women like men with power, and
Yeah,
he was the guy on top with the power at the time.
right, right. Man, so you know a lot of what's your boy name? What's your boy name? Buntry's brother. What is his name? Mob James.
Mob James, yeah, James
Mob
McDonald,
James. I
yeah.
know he started out early with Suge, and all y'all still y'all grew up together, know each other families, right?
Yeah, yeah, we all got 50-year relationships.
Golly, yeah,
5 decades.
yeah, yeah. So you came in more when Pac came in. Um, did you
A little
see?
bit before, about a year before, but yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
did you see warning signs that like things may not always last that way? I mean, Suge was dealing with a lot of money.
Yeah.
Was it too much? Did you feel like? Did you try to talk to him about things you saw or what?
The only thing that I didn't agree with or didn't understand was why he wasn't buying apartments and stuff like that to put the orders in. Because the amount of money that he was spending on hotels and renting and stuff like that, and leasing cars instead of buying cars, that I didn't understand. But when you in the moment, when you in the moment and you making money and stuff like that, you don't ever think it's going to stop.
Hmm.
You have no idea that it's ever going to stop, and you just think you're going to always be making money forever.
Right,
And
right,
now we see it, we feel it.
right.
But living in the moment in the '90s, you couldn't have told us that that it was going to stop.
Man, let me ask this question from my homeboy. Can you ask Reggie who is 37? I heard Suge joking about a chick named 37 and one of the DPG members cuffing her up.
I heard that too.
Yeah,
I heard that too.
yeah. Oh, okay, okay, yeah. Okay. Hey, so let me get. I'm gonna start getting to the meat of the conversation because I know we coming in on an hour. So we was talking about how historic your neighborhood is. One guy we didn't talk about that I guess you grew up with him too, knew him well. That's going on trial for Tupac murder, Keefe D.
Yeah, I
Anybody?
didn't. To be honest, that's the I didn't learn of KPT until heard of his name.
Okay.
He did have a name that was popular about the drug deals, but never had no interactions with him. First time I saw him in live, in person, that I knew other than the Soul Train, the war incident that I talk about, probably was like at a grocery store out in Corona, California, about in 2012, 2013. But heard of his name, heard of his reputation, and all of that. But yeah, that's about all I knew of Keefe. Uh, Keefe, a little bit about Keefe, was a crackhead, wasn't a gang member or gang. Well, he was a gang member, but not a gang banger. But at one time, he was the man with the connections for drugs. And then, after the incident that happened in Vegas, as he would tell you, changed his life. And then he became, one of the top biggest rats in LA County history, in my opinion.
Wow. But do you think his situation is a case of loose lips sink ships, or they was gonna get his ass
Oh,
anyway?
most definitely, yeah. They wasn't if he would have just went away and went into the sunset, they were not even thinking about him. He
Damn.
kept poking the bear.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Wow, that's crazy. Um, man, it just been L.A. Let me
And
ask
what
you this.
happened? You know what happened on that is
Uh-huh.
they had a young person like you. It
Mhm.
was a particular deputy DA that was young. I think he's like 44 now, and I think he told me 44, 45 years old. That was young when all this happened. That went and convinced his boss to let me try to investigate this, and the boss gave him a year to see what he can come up with.
Mm,
Just
right.
a pretty much a fan that went and got justice for Tupac.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. You know you're on this dog show. They're gonna keep asking dog questions. So let me get you one.
Okay.
Questions for Reggie. Was Suge Dog Bear and Damu the real deal? He talked about it at the
Oh,
top.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
did he ever see a LAPD K9 cur out in the line of duty? You know what cur means?
No, I don't know what Kurt mean.
Coward down.
Okay. Uh okay. I work Compton PD. I didn't work LA, but and we had in the history while I was there, I got to remember that was on because K9s, the big departments had them, but the little departments didn't start getting them until like 92, 93. Uh, and so I forget the name. Oh, damn, I can't think of their names right now. And we used to know them, but we had two good K9s. They were all German Shepherds. Uh, I remember Buntry. Buntry, we just talked about. He went to jail for sucking a K9. One of the K9s went underneath and got him up underneath the house,
Oh,
and he started. And that's you could hit a police officer. That's only a misdemeanor. You hit a K9 dog in California, that's a felony. And
wow.
I think he did like 5 years for hitting the K9 dog.
Damn.
So
Yeah.
what was that dog name? I can't think of his name right now. But anyway, so they were, the two K9 officers we had during my time, they had two good dogs, two good, German shepherds. The they were had their own car, and they got to take them home and drive into work, and so that was a good unit to have. They got to kept the dog, after the dog outgrew their services. I think they kept them on the streets for about 5 years. Uh, they were some good looking German shepherds. I remember they all trained. They came from Germany, and then once they got over here, they used to go and train with them once a week. I think on Tuesdays was the day they used to go and do some training with them. So they kept updating them with the training. Uh, yeah, I never seen any of them ball out to my knowledge, or get shot or get hurt or anything like that. They would get hit. Some guys would try to fight them and stuff like that. Uh, I remember one time I actually one of them jumped up and was about to get my ass, scared the shit out of me. I probably shitted on myself and didn't realize it when
Yeah.
he was sitting in the watch commander, which is like a little office, and he was over there with his handler. I saw his handler, but I didn't see him, and I stepped on his tail. Oh my god! Oh
Oh,
my
yeah.
god! Thank God! Thank God! The K9, the handler still probably had him on his leash.
Right.
Um, and so he was able to pull him down when I stepped on his. I remember that to this day. Stepped on the K9 dog tail. But yeah, those are
Oh,
my only little histories with the K9 in our city and in the city of Compton. I forget the first part of the question. I know that I went to the last part.
he was just
Uh,
talking about how were Damu and them and were they real dogs?
yeah, yeah, Damu. Like I said, I said Bear has a tattoo. He was a rock roller. She'll have a picture of him on his uh on his body, I think on his chest or somewhere, or on his back. I forget which part of his body, but he has a tattoo to bear on him. And then Damu, yeah, y'all done saw Damu. Y'all see him in the car with Suge that time when he in the 500 Mercedes Benz. I remember when he was talking about everybody get y'all records out because we about to release a whole bunch, and he was rubbing and patting on Damu.
Right,
And yeah, Damu was cool. Damu used to
right.
travel. We used to. go with us a lot of places, and he was very well trained. A guy by the name of Daryl Young was our dog. We called him Dog Man. He was our trainer, and he had got him right for sure.
I'm gonna look him up. Let me
Yeah.
ask you a question about your time in the police and the police dogs. Say you bring a K9 out to probably should be asking this, but you bring a
Okay.
K9 out to a car, y'all going to search or whatnot. Is
Okay.
there certain signals you can make that dog look like he alerted, or is it a real alert system? Because I know down
Well,
here,
they have to do a test first. They have to put actually something on the car first. They'll let them sniff something.
uh huh,
Like if you're looking for weed, or if looking for cocaine or whatever you're looking for,
hmm,
they have a little bag on on them. The narcotics officer, they either
right,
have some cocaine on them or they have some weed on them or whatever.
yeah,
And so they put it, and then they put it up to the dog nose. That's how they generally do it.
hmm,
And then they just walk around the car, and then they just start sniffing and all of that.
yeah,
And and then generally they looking for that smell or for that scent.
right,
You have different type of canines. All canine dogs are not what they call cross trained. Where that means they can hunt down people looking for people, or
right,
tracking people,
hmm,
and then or you have the ones that just for narcotics. And so you have very few. I don't know if now. I hope they are cross training now, where they can do both. But back in the day, we had a narcotic dog, and then we had the the ones that this was for tracking people and stuff like that.
right,
Or yeah,
right.
yeah.
Okay, guys. I see a lot of y'all. I got a lot of homeboys here. Let's get some questions in. I'm gonna get ready and let Reggie go. But Reggie, the state of the big U stuff.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on all this? What caused this? What's your thought on that show? The one Adam 22. Man, it seemed like that shit gonna cause some trouble. All the
Yeah,
fights.
but is it Adams or Vlad's fault? Is
It's
it their
not.
fault?
No, it
We
ain't.
got grown men that
Yeah,
likes to go. Just like if I asked a question or said something incriminating on your show, you
right,
just asked me the question.
right.
One person asked me about 37. How did I answer that?
You
I
didn't.
didn't pick you off. I didn't
Right,
answer it, but we
right,
went on to the next question.
right,
So my whole point is, when people, people give the platforms and all of that, a bad rap and stuff like that, but you have the right to remain silent.
that's right.
you,
That's right.
you
Yeah,
don't have to answer the question.
I
And
think they be
Steve,
too happy. I think they be trying to prove something on camera, man.
exactly.
Hmm.
And so these are people that's already in them that's going to talk. So if they so freely are able to talk about it on a platform, they already been talking about it. And
Hmm.
so that's the problem that we have, and that's just because, like we talked about earlier, the problem with social media, where uh, it makes people. I got a segment up right now today where I asked James or something, do you want the gold or you want the shine? I mean, do you want the money or do you want to be famous?
Right,
And and I think a lot of people are electing to be famous over being rich.
right. Yeah, that's like that line in the Mac. Some people want the honey, but I want the money.
And I want the money.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
so the book you got coming out, tell us a little bit about it, brother.
it's really a book for a how to for people that want to be in the music, the entertainment business, or be an artist. It's not one of those telling stories about death row or my life as a police officer or my family or anything. It's just like a how-to book for people that want to be inspiring artists, and so they can try to negotiate a good deal for them, and what not to do, how to negotiate, when you should give up your publishing, when you shouldn't give up your writing skills, uh, rights and stuff like that, and why it's important to maintain it, why the company is going to want to keep it, why you should try to fight to for you to keep it, or when should you give it up. So this is really a how-to for people that want to be in the business.
All right.
It's it's called Confessions of Confessions of a Label Boss is the
Mm-hmm.
name that they came up with. And a lot of people thought Jackson, well, you wasn't no label boss. Sure was a label boss. Yeah, I know. But I also read some other labels.
Yeah, you
And
did.
so,
You
yeah.
did. But you ran the label when Suge went to
I,
prison the first
yeah,
time, right?
from 2007 to 2002.
What
And then
album did you
again in
put out?
2004. Yeah. But
What
that's just a
album?
jack. That's just my haters, my trolls.
Okay.
They like to troll me. I
Right.
get a lot of trolls. I get a lot of hate, so it's all good.
Yeah. But you ran that yeah, you ran that label, you kept it going. Uh what albums did you put out during the times of your tenure of being a CEO of
Well,
that?
under my tenure that I helped get out were, of course, all the posthumous Tupac albums from the greatest hits to Until the End of Time, Better Days, Still I Rise, uh, Chronic 2000, the DVDs of Two Gangster for Radio and Two Gangster for TV, uh, Gridlock and Gang Related, uh, Dog Pound 2002, and Snoop Dogg Dead Man Walking. And
Okay.
so,
Okay.
yeah.
My homeboy asked, what happened to Break Bread?
Break Bread. That's on my boy Tata. That's another group that I put out. So that he really knows a lot.
Oh yeah,
You
we
said he was
know,
from
man.
Diego. You said he
Yeah.
was from Diego, right?
There you go, Logan Avenue.
Yep, yep, yeah. He know my boy Lloyd Lake Tata. But me and Tata, we initially was doing a group called the Relatives together. But then my boy Tata got in some trouble. Had to go sit down in the feds for a minute, and now I end up putting out the group called the Relatives at another music company called American AMC, and that's why he asked about that is because the group called the Relatives. Yeah,
Right, right.
shout out Big Y and Sugar Booger.
That's what's up. YK, I know you in the chat, and we both did music together, and so you know how we feel about DJ Quick. But I was looking at
Yeah.
one of your podcasts where you was talking about some music leaked from the All Eyes on Me album through Quick.
It was mainly through his bodyguard. Well,
Okay.
bodyguard took it out of his car, and they took it up to this car wash. Back in the mid '90s, the cassette tapes were big. That you go to the swap meet and you can get all the stuff leaked and all of that, and
Right.
and that's all that happened.
Yeah.
And he was mixing the album down. His bodyguard got to it and took it up and had it leaked out in the city of Compton. Now we leak music out on purpose.
Purpose. Yeah.
Back in the '90s, you held on to that until the street daylight gold.
Yeah.
You didn't have nothing come out, but you might have got a single because they used to even sell singles back in the day.
Right.
People forget about the $3.99, $4.99 singles that they used to sell. Uh, they may give you a bonus track on the back or on the side B or whatever of the cassette, but that's all that happened with that.
I remember,
Quick,
man, after Pac died, man, all his music released.
yeah, the bootlegs.
Boy, hey, we had Machiavelli 1, Machiavelli 2, Machiavelli 3, Machiavelli 4. And
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, them
yeah,
boys
that was
probably get some money up somebody, boy, but we had them down in the South.
yeah, that was a big thing back in the day.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was a big thing back in the day. Yeah,
right, right. Okay. Well, guys, I think I'm gonna let him wait. Let me get this one question. This is my other brother from Arkansas.
no
What was
problem.
the biggest death row record that you saw being recorded in the studio?
Well, I never prior to like I said, me running the label after '97. I wasn't one that was in the studio. So the big ones, of course, was All Eyes on Me. Murder
Right,
was a case was one that I really liked, but I think that was just because I was just fresh out and just starting being around now. So Murder was the case was a good album to me, probably one that I played the most. I just started playing this too of All Eyes on Me in the last about 5 or 10 years. I was so stuck on just this one on all the commercial release, I didn't even like this two of All Eyes on Me. Show you how bad I was with music,
Oh
and
wow.
until about 2010.
Yeah.
Now I don't even want to listen to this one of All Eyes on Me.
Yeah.
Uh, Machiavelli. Machiavelli is always a good album, but that's just something you ride when you just want to ride in your car talking head, or
Yeah.
ride down the street talking, thinking you're a rapper and talking head. But uh,
The production
yeah,
code changed a lot on Machiavelli. Why was that?
different type of producers.
Yeah, I mean, but
And,
why did he go that route?
well, they were around. It was just initially it was supposed to have been a mixtape.
Oh,
It
okay.
was just really something to throw out to the streets. And
Got
then when what happened to Pac, and that's when they decided to put it out.
got you.
Just to put it out. But that was really just supposed to have been a mixtape.
Right, right.
It's just something to give away, throw on the streets.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Reggie, man, thank you for doing something different, going over and holler at a small channel, man. That's some real shit you did today, brother. And we appreciate you coming. A lot of us are Pac fans, and I love listening to the Bomb First podcast. I don't know how you can remember all some of this stuff.
Yeah, it just come to you.
Right,
John be picking it out of me and making me remember, and I'll be like, oh yeah. Thank God
right,
I still got my little memory as for right now. And I just try to tell as best I can, and try to tell it as I remember it. Of course, so people gonna have different point of views. They're gonna see it from a different way, or maybe know a little more, or didn't know as much. But I'll
right,
just try to speak my truth, just
right.
to keep the legacy alive.
All right. Hey, CDC, I'm gonna let you get one more in before you get boy.
No problem. No
Hey,
problem. I'm
hey,
here.
what are some tips for someone young trying to get into the security business? And hey, Reggie, while you close this out, this man, any advice you can give us, any of us, we'll take it.
Well, as far as advice for the security game is just oh, see, there go my little shih tzu.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I did. There you go. I told you that's my wife and my son, dog.
Yeah,
He needs a great alarm though. Somebody, I mean, somebody coming at the front door.
yeah, yeah.
But advice as for a security company is, always be licensed. Try to get your permission. It's good business. If you want to be a security guard owner, I don't know much about the dogs and the liability with dogs with security companies. I never had a dog that worked for me, but I'm sure if you a company that go to patrolling silent alarms, or or residential patrolling, which I'm sure is big right now with all these people with all these burglaries and stuff going on.
Mhm.
Uh, hey man, that what is the best selling tool than to have a dog go and search the property and all of that with you, especially the alarms and all of that. I would
Mm,
go to a private company if they were advertising canine, to help search, because I know canine search better than humans.
yeah.
I remember I used to have a supervisor at work that used to tell us they didn't like the canines and helicopters and all of that because it made cops lazier because we depended on them too much. But I think technology, I think he was just old school. Uh, but the main thing is just to be licensed, to get it right, and to do whatever that you can to be licensed on the ownership part. Uh, and make sure you just keep the liability license, and good employees, and stuff like that. Pay a little bit more for that better quality of an officer, because the ones that just making no minimum wages, they can always go get a minimum wage job. And so they don't care about your company as much as you're going to care about your company, or your contract, because it's easy to lose a contract, but it's so hard to get them.
Boy, they
And
hard.
once you get them, appreciate those contracts
You sure right.
and do whatever you can. Yep.
Yes, yes, sir.
Um, and then this part of life, man, this learn, especially if you're being young, because as you get older, you'll learn that always put God and family first.
Yep, yep.
God first, and then your family, and appreciate those days and those times you can spend with your family
Right, right.
in your
And
time, because
for those of us who know, man, you had a battle with COVID, man.
Yeah,
That you fought through and everything, you know. So yeah, so we know for sure you know about fighting, brother.
exactly.
Yes, sir.
Exactly. Yeah. It's
Yes,
nothing more than the love of family and God, man.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, hey y'all. Y'all go over there. Put NWA in the chat on Bun first when y'all go back next time. Let them
Yeah,
know.
appreciate that. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
And keep it up. You ever need anything? Got any good questions for me? Or need something answered? Hey, you know how to get me. You got me now, Joe.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, Reggie. We appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate you as well.
All right. See y'all later.
Peace.
Step into the realm of canine wisdom with our podcast, NWA Connie Corsos, where we interview dog men and women from around the globe. Discover their talents and insights on breeding, training, nutrition, and the rich history of dogs. Tune in to the most underrated yet influential dog podcast on social media. Your journey into the dog world starts here.